Hi there, good morning and a very warm welcome. I'm Kritsween. You're tuned into the Breakfast Club. Well, we've been talking AI lately and in ways more than one. And that brings us to our top story today. We will touch upon the discourse around originality, around authorship and creative integrity in the world of art, which has been reignited by a high-profile controversy involving Abhay Singhal. Online critics and fellow creators have posted side-by-side comparisons, have accused him of lifting other artists' work, applying AI to re-render images and presenting the results as hand-printed originals. So what was once celebrated as an Instagram-fueled success story is now being interrogated as a case study in how social media and how commerce and digital tools can amplify both talent and deception. And then we shift our focus entirely to a person of interest who is not very different than what we're going to be discussing as a top story, who's also a digital artist and has been making waves by reimagining our tradition, culture and our roots, all while being thousands of kilometers away in the United Kingdom. That and much more coming up on the Breakfast Club. All in all, it's going to be an AI-loaded episode. But let's first start with this controversy that's doing the rounds all across social media. There's a new scandal unfolding in India's contemporary art scene and it's making waves. A 26-year-old Delhi-based artist, once praised for his mythology-inspired canvases and featured in brand campaigns, is now facing allegations of plagiarism and AI misuse along with artistic misrepresentation. The internet calls him a creative prodigy, but over the last few weeks, creators across Instagram and art forums have been calling him something else entirely, a copycat. And they've been taking to social media the images that you see. They've been posting reels, putting together all of his artwork alongside what they call is the original artwork. We're going to keep up with those visuals, go across to our experts, but visual comparisons, viewers, emerged online showing uncanny similarities between his artwork and pre-existing digital designs, and many allegedly pulled from open platforms, altered using generative tools. At the center of this controversy is the claim that these AI-tweaked pieces were later sold at exhibitions, printed on merchandise and passed off as original hand-painted works with no credit, and that's what made it all the more problematic. No credit to source artists and no disclosure of AI assistance. The accusations raise serious legal questions. Under the Indian Copyright Act, unauthorized copying of artistic work is a punishable offence, one that can trigger injunctions, fines and even jail time. What makes this case more complex is the digital angle though. Plagiarism done through AI tools, digital collage methods or data scraping may also attract provisions under India's IT Act, blurring the lines between copyright law and cyber offences. And while some defend AI as a tool, the lack of transparency here is what's fueling the backlash. Using AI to mimic style is one thing, but selling that output, claiming it's manually made, is another entirely, especially when the same artist had previously posted against AI replacing human creativity. It's being called hypocrisy today. In the age of Instagram virality, digital artists are fast-tracked to fame, but the same speed also allows unverified work to pass, as genius and influencer endorsements often come without any due diligence. There are also real-world consequences. Galleries could recall works, buyers could demand refunds. Brand collaborations may not survive scrutiny, and in a field where credibility is currency, once it's lost, there's no invoice big enough to fix it. So what exactly qualifies as originality in the age of AI? That's going to be the all-important conversation we're going to be decoding this morning on the Breakfast Club. And for that, we're bringing in two very special voices. First joining us is Rafael Pereira, an intellectual property strategist and managing partner at Tinats, who understands how copyright, contract law and digital manipulation intersect. Good morning, Rafael. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Kritsween. Thank you for having me here at the Breakfast Club.
The pleasure is ours. Also with us, viewers, this morning is Padma Shri awardee Sudarshan Patnaik, a master sand artist and global ambassador of handmade creativity. Sudarshan ji, namaste. Thank you for being with us, sir.
नमस्कार, बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद आपने हमें आपका ब्रेकफास्ट शो पे आज।
सुदर्शन जी, आपके पास थोड़े समय में आते हैं। सबसे पहले क्योंकि हम एआई की बात कर रहे हैं और इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी की बात कर रहे हैं, तो आई वांट टू बिगिन विद राफाएल. राफाएल, फर्स्ट अप लेट्स टॉक अबाउट the idea of plagiarism in the AI era. So, are there too many blurred lines here? Is there too much confusion on what the law entails, especially given the challenges that come with AI? Because there certainly is intellectual property rights in India, there's a Copyright Act, but decoding that in terms of the challenges coming in with AI, how difficult does that become?
I don't think there's a lot of confusion. It's just about what has been set as the bar where inspiration turns into infringement, right? That's the question that most artists have. That's the question that we all ask ourselves at any point when we have two artworks in front of us. And that's not as easy to define in black and white letters as we'd like it to be. That's been defined in common law countries like ours by precedent, by case law. And the case law in this area isn't as much as we'd like it to be as well, right? So we've not had tons of visual artists go before the court and say, okay, we believe our work has been infringed, and please look at the infringing work and look at our work, and build some sort of test or threshold. And even if that were the case, the court were to find some sort of threshold, that would be, in that particular instance, looking at those elements. And therefore, it would be in principle that we have a threshold that we'd have to examine future cases by. So it's not like, oh, you have 70% of the work that has been copied and therefore it is infringement, or less than 30% and it's not infringement. There's no standard like that. Rather, what we have to do is look at a work and see if there are elements that have been substantively similar to the original work. And original in this case would mean the work that was created first in time. Right? It's not originality is not as big of a threshold as we think it is. It's really about the work that's been created first in time. And everything that is substantively similar to it after it. And in most cases where it's not even related, or what I mean to say is, in cases where an artist would not have had access to a work or would not have known that this work exists also, but it is substantively similar, if it's judged to be substantively similar to the work that came out first, that in and of itself is infringement.
That's a lot of challenges for the artist in this case as well, especially the ones using AI tools, for instance, because what's been fed into the AI model is also beyond the reach of the artist in many cases. Rafael, I'll come back to you. We want to deep dive into that, take that conversation forward. But Sudarshan ji, आप हमें बताइए, क्योंकि ये पूरी conversation हमें इस बात पे भी पीछे लेके जाती है. You know, it's taking us back to the times when we've seen out there in the world a lot of copying being attempted with Indian folk art. Indian folk art को भी बहुत बार बिना credit के इस्तेमाल किया गया है बाहर के देशों द्वारा, आर्टिस्ट द्वारा. पर आप जब आर्ट क्रिएट करते हैं, क्योंकि हम ओरिजिनलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं और आर्टिस्ट भी इंस्पिरेशन लेते हैं, सो इंस्पिरेशन इज वन बिग एस्पेक्ट ऑफ हाउ द क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस बिगिंस, टेक्स ऑफ. तो आप कैसे अब इंस्पिरेशन लेते हैं अपने आर्ट को लेके, और कैसे, सबसे बड़ा सवाल, कैसे इंश्योर करते हैं कि ये ओरिजिनल रहे?
नमस्कार. मेरा ये सोचना है कि एक्चुअली टाइम अभी बहुत बदल गया है. इसीलिए आज आर्ट फील्ड जो है, सब आर्टिस्ट के मन में वही क्वेश्चन है कि कॉपीराइट, जो जिसके ऊपर हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. क्योंकि हमारा जो ओरिजिनलिटी था पहले, तो बहुत सारे कॉपी होता था. आपको पता होगा, बहुत सारे कंट्रीज में हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल, बेसिकली हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट फॉर्म है, उसको लेकर काफ़ी अलग अलग कंट्रीज में उसको अलग अलग तरीके से उसको थोड़ा चेंज करके वो ये करते थे. बट हमारा अभी का जो टाइम पे जो पेंटिंग है, जिस तरीके से एआई टूल यूज करके उसका विदाउट एनी कॉपीराइट, क्योंकि इंस्पिरेशन लेना अलग बात है. इंस्पिरेशन तो ये तो सदियों से है. हम आज अगर मुझे कोई आर्ट पता चला है, मैं तो भगवान राम जी का पेंटिंग देखने के बाद मुझे पता चला कि राम जी कैसे हैं, तो नहीं तो मुझे कैसे पता चलता कि राम जी। बट उस ऐसे नहीं कि मैं और कोई आर्टिस्ट का जो काम होगा उसी काम को देख के उस टाइप का डिजिटलाइज करके उसको मैं मिस यूज करूँ और वो आर्टिस्ट को मैं क्रेडिट ना दूं, जिसकी वजह से आज जो है मैक्सिमम आप देखेंगे बहुत सारे डिजिटल आर्ट फॉर्म जो हमारा जो ओरिजिनल आर्ट फॉर्म को उसमें यूज करके वो बना रहे हैं, जिसकी वजह से ओरिजिनलिटी जो है आर्ट फॉर्म का वो धीरे धीरे लोप होते जा रहा है। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा बात है अभी का समय में। इसलिए आप देखेंगे कि मैक्सिमम आर्टिस्ट जो है उनकी फॉर्म में थोड़ा चेंजेस किए हैं, जो इंस्टॉलेशन आर्ट फॉर्म कर रहे हैं, जिसको कॉपी नहीं कर सकते हैं आप। भले ही आप कुछ भी कीजिए बट उसको कॉपी करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है।
कोई उदाहरण देंगे? कैन यू गिव अस एग्जांपल्स आल्सो सुदर्शन जी, ताकि हमारे दर्शकों को अच्छे से समझ आए कि आप क्या समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ कि पहले हमारा पेंटिंग घर में लगता था
जी,
एक पेंटिंग के हिसाब से, बट उसमें कोई इंस्टॉलेशन मटेरियल नहीं होता था, सिर्फ कैनवस एंड कलर्स में होता था। अभी आप मोस्ट ऑफ द पेंटिंग देखेंगे उसमें इंस्टॉलेशन मटेरियल्स है। जो इंस्टॉलेशन मटेरियल को कॉपी करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, उसका एग्जैक्टली जो कॉपी बनाते थे वो बन नहीं पा रहा है। ठीक है, इंस्पिरेशन ले सकते हैं बट उसका कॉपी, जैसे मैं कुछ पेंटिंग सैंड और कलर कैनवस का करता हूँ, जो मेरा पहला शो हुआ था, उसमें लोगों को आश्चर्य लगा कि अरे कलर और कैनवस के साथ सैंड कैसे इंस्टॉल हो गया। तो मैं अगर चाहूँ तो मेरा पेंटिंग को भी मैं कॉपी नहीं कर सकता हूँ, खुद ही सेकंड पीस ऐसा एग्जैक्टली तो नहीं बना सकता हूँ जिस तरीके से मैंने इंस्टॉल उसको किया है। तो इसलिए आर्टिस्ट भी आप देखेंगे वर्ल्ड में, मैंने इवन की मोमा आर्ट गैलरी और बहुत सारे न्यूयॉर्क में अदर प्लेसेस में देखा कि पूरा आर्ट फील्ड को चेंज कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि इसी वजह से कि उसका जो कॉपी उल्टा, इवन कि हमारा ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट फॉर्म भी आप देखेंगे, ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट फॉर्म का मैंने बहुत बड़ा बड़ा क्राफ्ट फेयर में देखा कि उसका प्रिंट बेच रहे हैं। तो उसमें एक आर्टिस्ट के ऊपर कितना इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, जो रियल आर्टिस्ट होते हैं जो उसको क्रिएट करते हैं, और उसके बाद अभी एआई टूल यूज करके उसको डिजिटलाइज करके वही आर्ट फॉर्म को जोड़ के एक पेंटिंग्स बनाते हैं। और जैसे कि जो रियल आर्टिस्ट है, ओरिजिनल आर्टिस्ट है, उनको कोई क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता है, ना उनको उनका पेंटिंग का ये भी होता है, ना उनको कोई क्रेडिट मिलता है। तो ये एक बहुत चैलेंज है अभी का टाइम में, एक आर्टिस्ट के लिए, आर्ट कम्युनिटी के लिए भी।
जी, और यही बात है सुदर्शन जी, हम हर एपिसोड में जब एआई की बात करते हैं, व्हाइल इट्स अ बिग बोनस, इट आल्सो कम्स विद इट्स ओन challenges. So responsibly using AI, I think, is the next big value that we need to speak about widely. Rafael, there's a clarification that's coming from Abhay Singhal. So going back to how this whole conversation started in public domain, he says, I'm not an artist who can paint on black canvases. I create digital collages before I start, and I like to look at them as I paint. That's just my process. The goal is to be the best, and I will keep pushing towards my dream. So he's not apologized clearly. He's in fact justified how he paints and how he goes about creating art, for instance. What do you think has gone wrong and not worked for him? Why do you think he's at the receiving end of the kind of backlash he is receiving today?
I think, like I spoke about earlier, the elements that we're looking for to show that an artwork is substantively similar are present in some of the, some of the pictures of the canvases online. And if you, I think some of the elements on the screen right now, flashing right before our eyes, a layman can look at them and say, okay, I see the original and I see this collage, whether it's on canvas or whether it's in a digital medium, I can see the original work in the new work. Now, in certain countries, for example, in the US, if this were to be done by an artist, it would be considered transformative. It may be considered an expression, a comment on the original artwork itself. And the moment it's transformative, it's a new work. But in India, we just don't have that in our copyright jurisprudence. and it would still constitute infringement. You cannot take someone else's work and adapt it to a new media and therefore claim copyright over that. And in the instant instance, it's about uh, a digital collage being made, number one, from existing artworks, and that entire collage being painted onto canvas. So the first thing that I believe has gone wrong is that digital collage. Now, in most cases, and I'll tell you what what's interesting to me, and it may not be interesting to everyone else who's not an IP lawyer, but to me, it's usually hard to prove that a person who has infringed another person's work has had access, number one, to the work. And has then gone on to create something that's substantively similar. However, in the instant case, what's happening is you have all of these artworks being fed into an AI model. Now, whatever it may be, it could be Midjourney, it could even be Perplexity, or as plain and simple as ChatGPT, and a digital collage is being created.
And all of that is happening without the artist, the original piece of art, who's behind that piece of work's consent?
Without their consent. I mean, how many of us actually ask an artist before we take their work and we upload it somewhere, before we download their work or screenshot their work, and we save it to our digital devices.
And that access, Rafael, sorry to cut you short, but that access is also extending to copyrighted arts?
All of today's AI models are learning from a copyright protected database. It's let me not say all, but let me say a majority of today's AI models are learning from copyright protected artworks. And if you look even in our courts today, there are huge legal battles that are being fought to protect, for example, the news agency ANI is fighting against OpenAI and ChatGPT because it believes that all of its copyright protected cinematograph films, that is video clips or news works, some of its literary works, which is news articles, have been used or have been inputted into OpenAI and its tools like ChatGPT.
And the more you're pushing your content on social media, the more AI tools are able to pick on it, and the more it's being used by other fellow artists. So it's going in a cycle. It's almost cyclic. It's a chain that's been formed at the end of the day. So Darshanji, I want you to come in briefly here. Speaking of social media, it's a big advantage. Social media may overnight people are shooting to fame. But then it also comes with its drawbacks. So your art is exposed to the world. आप इसे एक बहुत बड़ा advantage देखते हैं, बहुत बड़ा challenge देखते हैं, कैसे देखते हैं?
नहीं, advantage भी है और challenge भी है. दोनों साइड अभी सिचुएशन ऐसा है कि कॉइन का दो सिक्का हो गया. क्योंकि advantage वही है कि जैसे पहले बहुत सारे आर्टिस्ट ऐसे थे जो उनका काम को कोई पहचानना और उनके पास लोगों के पास पहुंचना बहुत मुश्किल था. अभी एक सेकंड में अराउंड द वर्ल्ड देख सकते हैं. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है कोई भी आर्टिस्ट के लिए. बट चैलेंजेस ये है कि जैसे कि मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि जैसे मेरा सैंड आर्ट है, जब एआई टूल आया और मैंने सडनली देखा कि एग्जैक्टली मेरे सैंड आर्ट जैसा डिजिटल में बना हुआ है, जो चीज मैं बनाना भी नहीं चाहता हूँ. आज ये कोई ऐसा टॉपिक है जो उसके ऊपर मैंने नहीं बनाया, बट एग्जैक्टली उस टाइप का फ्रेमवर्क बना हुआ है और वो इतना हीट कर रहा है सोशल मीडिया में, आउट ऑफ इमेजिन. और लोगों का थॉट्स वही है कि सुदर्शन पटनायक जी ने बनाया होगा, सैंड आर्ट बनाए तो वही बनाए होंगे. तो ये जो कंफ्यूजन लोगों में क्रिएट हो रहा है, विद इन सेकेंड आप पूरा होल वर्ल्ड को आप ले रहे हैं. तो मैंने फिर उसके बाद देखा कि अरे ये कैसे बन रहा है. तो मेरे जो कुछ कलेक्शन वर्क थे उसी को एआई ने उसको कलेक्शन करके उसी में ही वही डाटाबेस में उन्होंने बनाया होगा. क्योंकि नहीं तो वो पता कैसे चलता कि मैं किस टाइप का बनाता हूँ, किस टाइप का मेरा मूवमेंट होता है, हाइट कितना होता है स्कल्पचर का, पूरा एग्जैक्टली उसी बेस पे आता है. तो लोगों में कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो जाता है. तो इस टाइप का
तो ये कंफ्यूजन या ये डर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि आपको कहीं रोकता भी है अपना बेस्ट सैंड आर्ट बाहर दर्शाने के लिए, सोशल मीडिया पे पोस्ट करने के लिए? क्या आप सही अपॉर्चुनिटी, सही टाइम का वेट करते हैं बिफोर डूइंग दैट सर?
नहीं सही तो है, थोड़ा वो तो रहता है कोई भी आर्टिस्ट को। अभी आज का समय भी देखिए, बहुत सारे आर्टिस्ट हैं, उनका एग्जीबिशन पे लिख देते हैं आप फोटोग्राफ्स नहीं ले सकते हैं, जो पहले ऐसा नहीं था। तो अभी पहले से वो बोल देते हैं कि आप फोटोग्राफी नहीं कर सकते हैं। बट मेरा ये सोचना है, इसको कोई हम रोक नहीं सकते हैं, जितने भी रोकने चाहे। हाँ, कोई लॉ उसके ऊपर हम इम्पोज कर सकते हैं, बट वो भी बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, क्योंकि थोड़ा कोई चेंजेस कर देंगे उसमें। मैंने किसी का फेस बनाया है, वो फेस में अगर थोड़ा चेंज हो गया तो वो तो चेंज हो गया, तो आप उसको चैलेंज नहीं कर सकते हैं। तो इस तरीके से अगर मैंने कोई पेंटिंग्स बनाया है, अगर उसी टाइप का पेंटिंग का थॉट्स लेके और कुछ कलर्स में उन्होंने बना दिया उसको, आप क्या करेंगे? तो उसको मुश्किल हो जाएगा ये करने के लिए। तो मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि हाँ, मैं इसीलिए वेट करता हूँ वो समय का, कि वो राइट प्लेस पे जाना चाहिए, राइट टाइम पे जाना चाहिए, सो दैट बिफोर उसका कोई कॉपी ना आ जाए। अभी जैसे आपने बताया, मैं कोई ChatGPT में स्केच अगर मैंने क्रिएट किया है और एक बार डाल दिया उसमें, तो उसका कैप्शन और उसका जो थॉट्स है मेरे से जो 2 घंटा पहले रहेगा, मे बी कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हो, कोई न्यूजीलैंड में हो, तो स्कल्पचर वहां बना देगा मैं बनाने से पहले। जैसे मैं करंट टॉपिक इश्यूज पे बनाता हूँ, तो ऐसे कोई आर्टिस्ट अगर उसका शो करने जा रहा है, तो उसका शो से पहले और कोई आर्टिस्ट को अगर उसका कोई डाटाबेस मिल गया, तो वो तो उसी टाइप का एग्जीबिशन बनाने के लिए वो कुछ ना कुछ क्रिएट कर देगा। जो उससे पहले जो, जैसे मेरा एक नेक्स्ट एग्जीबिशन होगा, तो मैं जो लोगों को सरप्राइज देने जा रहा हूँ कि मेरा एक इंस्टॉलेशन आर्ट फॉर्म का ऐसा होगा, तो उससे पहले अगर डाटाबेस चला गया तो वो उसको कोई भी यूज कर सकते हैं। तो आज जो बेसिकली मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि ज्यादा इफेक्ट हमारा ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट को भी हो रहा है, क्योंकि हमारा देश जो है,
and the entire Kolhapuri controversy is also, though that falls in the domain of design, that's also a reflection of what we're essentially seeing. Madhubani art, all of that has been spoken of, and how very little credit has been given for these folk art pieces in India. Rafael, I did want to come and ask you about what artists typically here can do to protect their artwork. So if their artwork is copyrighted and yet AI is capable of using it, feeding it to other artists, what can be done? But we're running out of time, so we're going to have to revisit this conversation hopefully very soon. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this morning for this wonderful conversation. All right, coming up after a very quick break, we keep up with the world of AI, but in a digital way. We will also be touching upon how here is an artist who is putting out the right disclaimer for how he's going about creating art, and he's also reimagining his culture, his tradition and his roots, doing the same. That interesting conversation in just a bit.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Good evening, I'm Pallavi Ghosh. You're watching the explosive weekend debate with me. You know, in a recent study, Kolkata was described as one of the safest cities in the country. In fact, West Bengal is considered to be a haven till recently as far as the safety of women is concerned. But it's been just over a year since the horrific RG Kar Medical College rape and murder case. There was another one of another law student who was raped brutally in near Kolkata. But lessons don't seem to have been learned. The thing is that there's been yet another rape of a student from Orissa in Durgapur outside a hostel late into the night. The response coming in from the state government seems to be predictable. In this case, the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, just months ahead of elections in the state in 2026, has stoked yet another controversy. She has made 2 points. One, why is it that the girl had to come out so late into a night from her hostel? And second, women must also be careful and they must learn to take care of themselves. As expected, the BJP has attacked her, called her being anti-woman and shifting the blame onto the victim. What is even worse is the fact that till recently she was the only woman chief minister in a long time in the country. The Trinamool Congress has always prided itself as being the only national or political party which has sent the maximum number of women to parliament. They give the maximum number of representation to women politicians even at the assembly session. In fact, if you look at the overall picture of the Trinamool Congress, there is no denying the fact that it's heavily women tilted. But why is it that this comment of Mamata Banerjee seems to have stoked so much of controversy? She's questioned the college authorities, which may be considered legitimate enough, but not completely. She's also gone on to say that a woman must learn to take care of herself. But the BJP says that she happens to be a habitual offender. Whether it was the Park Street rape case, whether it was the RG Car case, eventually she's always held the victim responsible. And why so? That's the big question which we are going to be debating later this evening with my entire panel of guests. That has Mamata Banerjee shown an anti-woman mindset? Was she wrong in shifting the blame on the victim and asking her to take care of herself? And for how long will the politicians indulge in whataboutery when it comes to crime against women?
আপনার গেট কাছে তো গেট কাছে নিয়ে গেছে আমরা তারপরে ও কি দুজন না তিনজন লোক এসে যখন তিনজন লোক এসে গেছে ও ছাড়িয়ে সেখানে ওকে পালিয়ে এসেছে
especially the girl child at night time they should not be allowed to come out in the outside. They have to protect themselves also.
This kind of Talibani mentality is shameful. Actually, you have always been protecting the rapists and you have been cursing us, the victims. Because these rapists are your TMC cadre.
This is the kind of mentality. It's an anti-woman mindset. It's a Mati, Manush, Mahila Virodhi mindset.
Okay, so we're going to go across to our panel of guests this evening. There's Brinda Adige, a woman rights activist. There is Monojit Mondal, he's a political analyst, and of course Shehzad Poonawala, spokesperson on the BJP. I'm going to ask this question first to you, Mr. Mondal. How can the Chief Minister say that a woman has to take care of herself, and why did she go out of the hostel late into a night? You mean to say she should only go out in the afternoon and early evening, not late into a night?
First of all, I take strong objection to the kind of distortion of the words of the Chief Minister that your channel is putting up. She has clarified in Bengali, and I am surprised, despite knowing Bengali yourself, you are not really showing the entire statement of the Chief Minister. She has categorically stated that the girl is a hostelite, and the hostel, in every educational institution, the hostels do have some discipline, that after a certain point of time, especially after 9, 10 o'clock at the night, the girls are not supposed to go out. That's the hostel system, because she is a student of first year. Even we studied a hostel, we also had a discipline. The same discipline is still there, right? So fact number one, it's not that she is talking about the girls should not come out of house. Women should not come out of house. That's the way you are making it out to be. Whereas the statement is that in a hostel, if the authorities, college authorities are there, if they don't know about the whereabouts of the girl, this is also their responsibility. Where there is CCTV inside the campus, outside the campus, if two people are going out of the campus at night, the college authority should have been informed, or they should have taken responsibility. Yes, they can go out, there can be emergency even after 10 p.m. But therefore the college authorities must be informed, police authorities must be informed. That's what she wanted to mean, and she had clarified in a Twitter and even in a Bengali statement. Please do not, for God's sake, distort her words and let us not politicize. We all know that the same kind of brutal rape happened 2 days ago in Lucknow when one minor was gang raped. I do hope and pray that you also have the same alacrity and promptness to show this kind of incidents. Same thing happened in Odisha. In front of a principal's chamber on broad daylight, a girl had to burn herself down.
That
she
was our top
molested,
story
because
for
she had-
many days,
because,
Mr.
yes,
Mandal.
Because
That
she
was the top story for
she
many
was
days.
threatened by the teachers. Look, in Benares in the university, one girl was raped inside the campus, and the perpetrators were seen with the prime minister, none other than the prime minister. So this is a
Well, today we've got a special guest joining us on the show, an innovator at the intersection of art and technology. He's an AI artist who's using cutting-edge tools, not just to create, but to reconnect with something deeper, his cultural roots. Through his work, he's exploring identity, heritage, and what it means to preserve culture in the digital age. Please welcome Jay Piramakaran, our person of interest this morning. Good morning, Jay. Hope you're doing well.
Hi, a very good morning to you, and I think it might be afternoon for you, so a very good afternoon for you, and thank you for having me.
Okay, it's still morning here, Jen. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you because AI really is the theme of this gen, not just this year, this gen, if I can just put it that way. But let's go back to your story. Let's rewind a little. Tell us what really has been your inspiration in creating art, but using AI tools to do this.
Yeah, firstly, I mean, I've started this, journey of creating art and digital art for the last, around a decade now. So it's been going, starting as a photographer and then starting to work as a graphic designer. And now with the help of generative AI, I'm able to sort of blend and merge what I've learned over the past decade and bring that together into a medium where I can explore different storytelling, and that also brings in the aspect of blending culture and history and sort of heritage into that mix. So I'm really excited to share, how I sort of see those things and perceive those things together. So I'm really excited to share that across the board.
You're based out of the UK, Jay. What makes you fall back on your history, your culture, your heritage so much that it inspired you to create art in this particular way?
I've moved to UK around, just around 2007. So until I was 10 years old, I grew up in a Tamil household in Sri Lanka. And since then, even moving out to UK, it's always been around the case of learning a few things, reading books that was around heritage and culture. So that sort of brought in the tie up with the history and wanting to learn more and wanting to sort of explore that realm. And I've always had that idea of visual storytelling in my mind. So when I found this medium of creating digital art, it sort of picked up from there. And through the lens of generative AI, it sort of made it a bit more enhanced, I would say. So it just took from there.
Okay, so we'll do two things here. We'll ask you about your creative process while working with AI tools, and then we'll talk about a few examples, for instance. So visuals perhaps that I think really worked for you, that have gone viral, that have broken the internet. So we'll talk about some of those pieces of art created by you. But first, tell us about your creative process. How does it go step by step?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So it starts with a lot of base idea of what I have. So a lot of sketching and trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to create. So it kind of works through as a storyboard to firstly navigate how I'm exactly going to picture this whole whatever the length is. So it's going to be like 30 seconds or 1 minute long. And I sort of optimize these content, especially for social media, because they're looked at a very fast-paced movements, right? So I've got to sort of break that down into seeing how many scenes, how many frames I'm going to put in, and just working from there to navigating it as how I can better tell the story and how I can sort of explore that. And that starts from, like I said, the sketching of the base idea, and then sort of taking that forward with an AI image generation through models such as Imagen 3 by Google. and sort of just exploring that territory with a little bit of different prompting and a little bit of different sort of prompt stacking, and then taking that final image that I'm happy with, converting that over to a video format that sort of moves and has a dynamic effect to it. And in this, I can sort of have control over the camera, and I can have control over how the lighting looks. I can sort of adjust a few things in the video itself. And then the third railway for that is it's sort of taking that and adding in sound effects. And the sound effects will be, again, AI generated as well. And this also has a little bit of control of how we want to navigate that story. And fourthly, I'll also look at mainly what kind of audio I'm actually using for the sound, for the full length of the content as well, because that sort of navigates where the video is going to land as an overall. So after all, I mean, after that whole pipeline of 5 processes, I sort of see how this final finished version looks, and if it looks okay for social media, then I'll be happy to put that out there.
Okay, so after all the effort, all the work, having gone through these so many steps, you're still down to judging whether or not it's fit for social media. Jay, you make it sound relatively easy. You make it sound it's all smooth sailing. It's not difficult at all. But be realistic with us. How much time ideally does one digital piece of art take? So from when you get down to with the thought process to actually implementing it and coming out with the final product?
That's a great question. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's not, it's easier said than done, right? Yeah. So some pieces have taken almost, a few hours to like a week. So, and we're moving at such a fast rate when it comes to the AI space, I would say. I mean, you've probably heard of a lot of talk about, there's AI this, there's AI that, and there's so many different tools, and there's so many different updates that's coming in weekly. So it kind of like changes my workflow. It doesn't keep it very linear. It sort of keeps changing here and there, and it keeps getting better for some storytelling, and then for some it's very complex. So I've got to be very, trying to find out which new tools can actually help me, and sort of make it more efficient. But in a long term, I mean, I've averaged around like 5-6 hours per piece, I would say. But now it's gotten to a point where I can sort of like see, if I want to create something that goes for a minute long, I can sort of picture that idea, and if it looks very complex, or if it looks very easy to do. If it's something easy to do, then I can pretty much do it for just around under 2 hours, from the scripting, from the ideation to the actual final finished content itself.
Anywhere between 2 to 6 hours is nothing compared to what you've given us. So what I see typically on social media, when I see the final version of what you've created, it seems as though it would have taken anywhere between 3 to 4 days, or like you said, up to a week. But let's get down to some of these digital arts created by you, Jay. Let's talk about Collywood stars, walking the Met Gala's red or rather blue carpet. Tell us about the vision there, and how did you go about it? What was the thought there?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was actually one of my favorite pieces. So I like fashion, and I like exploring new territories with that. And when I saw Met Gala happening, and so that really intrigued me. That was like, okay, let's see what I can do with this, and how I can sort of combine that with the heritage that we have, and we can sort of bring that together in a global stadium, and we can sort of integrate that into the clothing, into the fabric they're actually wearing as well. So you can see like there's so many like intricate details that was put in into that piece, and it varies from each of the actors that was presented on that video.
And how much time did that take? Just so our viewers know how much effort goes into each of these digital arts.
So that was just around 4 hours, I would say, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Jay, now let's get to videos of Ram Setu exploration, because that one piece in itself went viral on social media, broke the internet. How did you come about that?
Yeah, so I've had that idea for, it's always been in the back of my mind to create that across, because that's something I've always grown up to find out and sort of explore. Is it actually there? How would this look if it was underwater? So, that's
what
the
made
kind
it
of,
contemporary,
idea.
Jay, was scuba divers exploring it. So you brought in your own imagination to that entire concept and gave it life.
Absolutely. So I've always wondered, what would it look if a modern archaeological team, or if a scuba diving team gets in and sort of discover this or rediscover this, and how would that look, and what are the visuals they're going to see, and will it be grandeur enough? So that's the kind of questions I had going in my mind when I sort of started creating that, and it sort of like molded into a way where I wanted to show something that was somewhat relatively realistic and somewhat there's a little bit of imagination here as well. So I wanted to combine both of those together. But I think what really went well there is the sound effects that was added, which perfectly tied in with the narration of the video itself. And the visuals as well, I think it really appealed because there's a lot of like different movements that's going on. Then there's a lot of like movement that's realistic as well. There's like bubbles coming up from the scuba divers, so that kind of adds the realism on top of that. So all of those small things, I sort of like nitpick and like sort of edit through when it's needed, and I kind of see, does this look convincing enough for me at the final take? And
you say there was a lot of imagination too, but many fell for the realistic aspect of that piece of art. Many felt it was a real footage, and then it was also being reshared by some without a AI generated disclaimer. So you typically put a AI generated disclaimer to all digital art created by you. Some have not done that. Does that get problematic? How do you, as a digital artist, tackle those challenges?
Yeah, it's a very great question. I think, we're at a space now where what is the reality and what is AI generated content out there? So it's getting to a point where there's so much AI generated content out there that looks real enough to believe that it is real, and it doesn't have that disclaimer. I think but often there are platforms which are now embedding AI generated sort of signage into their videos itself. So this will sort of take a turn when it comes to social media. In the long run, I think in the next 5 years, I would say we'll sort of see where it'll be just purely AI generated content that is for one section of things in terms of social media, and then there will be just organic, real content that was created by actual people. So so there will be two narrations of this, and I think it will kind of lead to that path. But I think it's quite important to keep people informed on what is being shared and how it's being created, because then it will kind of make them understand exactly what the capabilities of AI is as well. And there's so much misuse of AI as well. So it's very important to firstly inform everyone of whatever it is they are viewing, and sort of acknowledging these are the possibilities of AI, and this is what can be achieved right now.
Okay, Jay, now we need to get to the other image which won my heart as it won everyone else's hearts, which was the miniature figures preparing some of the Indian cuisines. Like I said, it broke the internet clearly. What was your thought process there? How do you typically come up with these ideas?
So that was actually, so I saw this, a really cute video of this person, like, working around in like a small miniature kind of style. And that kind of intrigued me. I was like, okay, let's take this idea and sort of, blend it for whatever I have, inside my mind. So I wanted to take that and, sort of blend culture into that and see how that would play out. In terms of bringing in these small things, I think it's always been this part of me where I can sort of idea something and sketch something that is somewhat relative to me, and then I would just give it some life with finding out online as well. And it comes a lot of ideations from prompting tools as well, and LLM tools such as ChatGPT. So a lot of ideas and a lot of learning goes into that. And I'm at a point where now these AI models that I've trained myself, they can sort of understand what I'm thinking of and how I would sort of create stories. So they also give me a little bit of co-helping when I would sort of explore that idea, and they will also break down a few things for me, and so I just take a few things from there, put it all together, and then be like, okay, this is a really great idea. Let's just go with it and see what comes out.
Okay, before we wrap up this conversation, one message to all those who are worried. You spoke of how AI must be used responsibly, and that responsibility lies on everyone, you and I, especially digital artists like yourself. But what would be your message to anyone who says AI is going to sooner or later replace human artists?
Yeah, that's actually very important, because for me it's not about using AI to replace creativity. It should be always to amplify memory, culture, and storytelling. I think the essence of bringing any medium into play, whether it's a paintbrush or whether it's a mouse drawing from a computer. And now the AI generated era. So it should always bring in creativity, and it should sort of amplify what you have already, and it should always serve as a medium. But I really think whatever we visually see, we should always emotionally connect with. I think that's the art of storytelling, and that's the emotion to it. And the people that are watching these videos, they sort of resonate with that, even if it's AI generated. Okay. Or some might not even know it's AI generated, and they still resonate with it. So that is the key for it. But in the near future, I think there will be a lot of merge between AI and real content itself, and that sort of bridges both of those together. And yeah, I think it's an amazing time to be. Definitely, I think it's moving, and it's moving really fast at a pace where things can sort of break down a lot of workflow that we have going on.
It's almost scary, the pace with which AI is moving. It's moving rapidly. Yeah. I mean, fast would be an understatement. Yeah. But Jay, can I then ask you, so you spoke of how this is coming together of your imagination and AI tools, your AI vision. How much of an importance percentage-wise you give to your artistic vision and AI input or influence?
I would say my input is almost 95%, and then 5% comes from whatever the training I've given to the AI models that I've trained. So they sort of think for me and sort of ideate from there, and I just sort of navigate them through. So it always comes from me as the main creator, and and then sort of getting help from AI when it's needed and where it's needed. So yeah, it just goes a play between vice versa.
And for all those who are aspiring to become digital artists like yourself, give them suggestions about AI tools that you find the most exciting, are fun to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you are starting out, please do explore Google's Imagen 3. I would say it's one of the best tools out there that is completely free to use. And there are so many different image models that are out there, such as Google's Nano Banana, which just got released, Seed Dream 4, which helps with a lot of character consistency when you want to, work on an image that you only have one image and you want to work on a few variations of that. You can do that through that, or Google's Nano Banana. And there is Flux Context, there is ChatGPT, as you know. And now with video models, they are often changing, and they are sort of coming to life with so many different things. There's Sora 2, which just got released a few days back, and there's Kling 2.5, which is very good for prompt adherence. It will sort of understand world physics, and it will do exactly what you prompt it to do. And yeah, I mean, there's so many varieties of tools that help with.
And
each
since you're
every-
always experimenting with newer tools, your suggestion list also is endless. Great, Jay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm going to end on this note. I'm going to ask you about your favorite digital piece of art so far. Give us a reason, and then we quickly close the show.
Absolutely. I think my favorite one currently right now, it's often changing, but the favorite one right now, I would say, is the so I did a piece on Kantara chapter 1 that just recently got released. And I think that was really connecting with me as well. Like, you know, when I finished the piece and I looked at it, it was like, okay, this is actually something special. And I think the more of that comes from the sound effects, and the audio was, you know, it perfectly tied up with the video itself. So yeah, that's actually going quite viral right now. It got like 3 million views in like one day. So I really like that, and I'm happy that, you know, a lot of people are actually commenting on that and saying, you know, this is like super emotional and super connecting with me as well. So I'm glad that, you know, people like it.
Yeah, that's an extension of what you've done in the past, bringing heritage tales to life like never before. Jad, thank you so much. It was wonderful having you on board. Thank you for joining us on the Breakfast Club. Okay, on that note, we're going to head into a very quick break, but don't forget, Diwali is just around the corner. Festivities have begun across the country, so we'll be shifting our focus a little bit to what kind of preparations are we looking at across the country. We'll be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
So we have a new update coming in from Gaza. Leaders from over 20 countries are set to attend the Gaza Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh today. The summit will be co-chaired by US President Donald Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to finalize Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal. India will be represented by Minister of State for External Affairs Kirti Vardhan Singh, as Prime Minister Modi could not attend due to short notice. Other leaders expected include UK's Keir Starmer, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and even Pakistan's Shehbaz Sharif. The talks follow a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, mediated by Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the US. The first phase includes Israeli troop withdrawals, opening of 5 aid crossings, and release of hostages.
But I think if you look at the dancing in the street in Gaza, if you look at the way that the Gulf Arab states, really the entire Muslim world, but also you look at how the Israelis responded, they were cheering at the mention of President Trump's name yesterday in a massive rally in Israel. This is one of those peace deals where Muslims and Jews and Christians all seem unified, that it's a really good thing for the world, it's a really good thing for humanity, and it happened because of President Trump's leadership. So I actually think this peace deal will make us safer. I'm sure there are going to be some hard feelings from the last couple of years of war. There always are. But if we can build a sustainable peace, Margaret, I am 100% sure Americans will be safer.
All of the hostages that I spoke about with until now and doesn't have any need of revenge or to see other people suffering. For us to feel safe again as a nation, and for the Palestinians to have a real opportunity for a good life, a Western life, as we know, Hamas need to be eradicated, or at least give up their weapon and go aside or back, so other Palestinians, together with the international community, will be able to rule and rebuild Gaza.
So this just in, we have breaking news coming in. US President Donald Trump said that the war in Gaza has ended as he departs for Israel, marking his first visit since brokering a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, where he is expected to deliver an address to the Knesset before co-chairing a high-level peace summit in Egypt. Trump, speaking aboard Air Force One, said Qatar should get credit for helping broker the Israel-Hamas ceasefire and praised Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for doing a very good job. So, the Speaker of the Knesset, Amir Ohana, has formally invited Donald Trump to address Knesset. The invitation is in context of a ceasefire deal, the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, which has been in which the US played a key role in brokering alongside Egypt and Qatar and Turkey, and hostage release agreement that has been.
Well, Delhi's Diwali festive spirit is hard to miss, right? The light, the kiosks, the decor, the color and the festivities. But amidst all that shimmering, we are here in one of the most beautiful corners that shines very differently. Not in the sparkle of gold, but in the glow of giving. Come on.
For over 4 decades, the Blind Relief Association's Diwali Bazaar has turned festive shopping into something more meaningful. Here, each diya, each candle, each handmade bag carries the touch of someone who can't see the light but actually creates it for others.
Well, festivities, they say, is felt the best when you make something with your own hands. And here we are, with the right kind of artist doing the right thing. Let's speak to them. आप जो कैंडल्स बना रहे हैं, लोग वो खरीद के लेके जा रहे हैं चुन-चुन के, है ना?
हाँ जी।
तो कैसा लगता है?
हमें तो बहुत बढ़िया लगता है, बहुत अच्छा लगता है। हमें यही होता है कि चलो हमें तो नज़र नहीं आता, लेकिन हमारे द्वारा जो बनाई हुई मोमबत्ती है वो लोग जला तो रहे हैं।
Their answers may be simple, but the joy is pure. Every product that they create adds a little warmth and a lot of meaning to someone's Diwali.
आपको कैसा लग रहा है कि आपकी बनी हुई कैंडल्स लोग खरीदेंगे, घर को लाइट करेंगे, दिवाली डेकोर में यूज़ करेंगे?
मैम, हमें बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि हम भी, पहली बात तो हम पहले हम सोचते थे हम कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, लेकिन जब से यहाँ हमने बिहार में आए हैं तब से हमें इतनी खुशी होती है कि हम भी कुछ कर सकते हैं, अपने हाथों से कुछ बना सकते हैं, पैरों पे खड़े हो सकते हैं, और हमारे हाथों से बनी हुई कैंडल से लोग अपने घरों को रोशन करेंगे। हमें बहुत खुशी होती है।
ये दिवाली की फेस्टिविटीज़ के लिए इतना काम किया आपने पिछले 6 महीने से, और अब फाइनली वो बाज़ार में बाहर बिकने के लिए रेडी है।
मैम, बहुत खुशी है। हमने अपनी मेहनत पूरी दिल से की। हमें खुशी है, हमारी लोगों को पसंद आनी चाहिए कैंडल, और लोग देख के खुश हुए, और हमें उनकी खुशी में ही खुशी मिलेगी। हमारी कैंडल खरीदी है और अपने घर में रोशन करिए,
और हमें भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए। हमारे हाथों से कैलेंडर जो भी हम चीज़ बनाते हैं उन्हें एक बार चेक कीजिए, हमें एक बार मौका दीजिए। हम सभी जितने भी हमारे दोस्त हैं, भाई हैं, उन सभी को।
हम तो चाहते हैं सबके घरों में उजाला हो, हमारे कैंडल ले जाओ, सबको खुशहाली हो, सबको घरों में बढ़िया से हैप्पी दिवाली हो, बढ़िया से मैंने शुभकामनाएं हो हमारे कैंडल से, अच्छा दिन हो, अच्छी दिवाली हो।
At Cafe Mast, established by BRA, the servers may not see your smile, but they'll surely make you feel it.
They all are proud that it has been brought and sold out, or things are completed. So that itself is satisfying for us.
Any message that you would like to give to our viewers?
Well, I really want people, the organization, to come forward and employ them. End of the day, whatever we are doing, a small drop, but it will complete it unless until we are connected, they get employment in the industry.
Maybe Diwali isn't just about lighting lamps, it's about lighting lives. And in a world obsessed with more, the fair reminds us that the brightest glow often comes from giving.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
So we have a new update coming in from Gaza. Leaders from over 20 countries are set to attend the Gaza Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh today. The summit will be co-chaired by US President Donald Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to finalize Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal. India will be represented by Minister of State for External Affairs Kirti Vardhan Singh, as Prime Minister Modi could not attend due to short notice. Other leaders expected include UK's Keir Starmer, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and even Pakistan's Shehbaz Sharif. The talks follow a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas mediated by Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the US. The first phase includes Israeli troop withdrawals, opening of 5 aid crossings, and release of hostages.
But I think if you look at the dancing in the street in Gaza, if you look at the way that the Gulf Arab states, really the entire Muslim world, but also you look at how the Israelis responded, they were cheering at the mention of President Trump's name yesterday in a massive rally in Israel. This is one of those peace deals where Muslims and Jews and Christians all seem unified, that it's a really good thing for the world, it's a really good thing for humanity, and it happened because of President Trump's leadership. So I actually think this peace deal will make us safer. I'm sure there are going to be some hard feelings from the last couple of years of war. There always are.